Speaking of spectacular, if you haven't picked up a copy of my latest book called 3 C's That Made America Great, Christianity, Capitalism, and the Constitution, co-authored with Steve Fiesel, it is about time that you do that. The book is available in bookstores or online at HuckabeeBooks.com or from Amazon. Well, I'm sure you are aware that we are now past Labor Day and just 2 months before the election, which I call the start of the silly season. That's because the words you can expect to hear from the media are bombshell, breaking news, explosive new information, stunning revelations, and similar breathless, hyperbolic descriptions about a story involving a candidate for office, from president all the way down to school board. Here is a friendly piece of advice. Ignore most of it, especially if it's from a political ad or from the establishment media. If they're reporting on something that supposedly will cause you to change your vote, just take it with a grain of salt. I mean, this week a story appeared in a very partisan left-wing publication that claimed that President Trump spoke disparagingly of the military. And the writer had to publicly admit that a great part of his story was, in fact, wrong, and that he based it entirely on unnamed sources, or as they sometimes say, senior officials. Well, to date, not one of those sources have been identified or verified. Other reporters even say they independently verified the story by their unnamed sources. How dumb is it to say that you can sperm a story from an unnamed source by talking to an unnamed source? Think about that. By the way, so far, at least 21 people with a name and a face have disputed the story, and they didn't do it anonymously. They stepped up and agreed that the story was absolutely false. Oh, and by the way, one of those 21 people was my own daughter, who was with the president when he supposedly made the remarks. She will be on our show in a little while, in fact. Hey, even John Bolton, the fired former national security director, affirmed the president's story and dismissed the fake news report from The Atlantic. I've kind of decided The Atlantic is where that publication belongs, in the depths of the Atlantic. That would be a good place for it. Now, when that story fizzled out, and it did, Watergate reporter Bob Woodward put out his book to say that the president downplayed the seriousness of the COVID virus. Some rather opinionated journalists even accused President Trump of willingly killing coronavirus patients because he said he wanted to keep people calm and not to panic. And then, before the media could even get the story out in full hype, accusing the president of downplaying the seriousness of the virus, video revealed Joe Biden saying all the way back in February and March that we don't need to panic, which, by the way, was exactly what the president said. But it took Joe Biden several weeks to finally admit that banning travel to China and Europe, as ordered by the president, was really a good thing. Now, Joe wasn't just misguided, he was just weeks behind. My advice is to believe very little or nothing said by the media for the next 2 months, and mostly just ignore what's reported to have been said by the candidates unless you see it and you hear it from the candidate himself or herself, and even then, make sure the tape hadn't been doctored. There are really some important issues to be decided by the election in November, and you need to pray, think, and vote. Be less impressed with what a political figure supposedly said, and look to see what he or she actually has done or failed to do. But whatever you do, make sure you vote, because not voting is accepting whatever happens and losing the right to complain about it. You will end up getting the government you deserve, even if it is not the government that you wanted. Now, if you want more videos like that one, hit the subscribe button below and the notification bell right next to it. And if you leave a comment, positive or negative, I'll be sure that my dog Toby sees it and responds to you in kind.